Hi, I'm Bob Soklas, an Agile Innovation Strategist with SAP in Dallas, Texas. These next few minutes are designed to help a non-technology business executive understand a highly prevalent big data topic. I fully understand that any time a finance or operations exec hears the terms big data or Hadoop, eyes roll back and people move on, but please stick with me. I believe you'll walk away from this whiteboarding session able to ask your team a lot of questions well worth asking. I promise to keep the technobabble to the bare essentials while sharing a great strategy to achieve big data objectives at this challenging time of massive digital transformation. In the next few minutes, I will answer 3 key questions. What is big data? And more importantly, why is it essential to your business right now? What are the difficulties in managing big data while looking for real ROI? And what are the key differences in what SAP offers with big data versus other players such as Hortonworks, Cloudera, Amazon Web Services, and Microsoft Azure. So what is big data and why is it essential? Let's start with an analogy. Imagine contracting a serious infection in 1618 versus 2018. What's the key technology breakthrough in the efficacy of your treatment? Well, in 1618, we were blind to the world of germs. The microscope was not yet invented. Doctors and nurses had to work off of symptoms, unable to see the actual biology of infection. Without vision and understanding, doctors were flying blind, focused on hearsay and superstition. This led to ineffective practices such as using leeches, bleeding the sick to try to get rid of infections. This is a great parallel to business and commerce today. For the most part, we've relied on symptoms in the form of aggregated reports of financial results from last month, last quarter, or last year in our efforts to improve sales and earnings. After decades of piloting our companies, looking in the rearview mirror, we suddenly have new data, new technologies, and are starting to build the instrumentation needed so that we can see what's really happening in our business in real time. This new data is referred to as big data. Big data is not the transactional data that we've had for decades, but rather everything else. Let me give you a quick example. If you run an airline, you always had the data for the passenger when they purchased a ticket to fly. You can think of the transactions as the visual symptoms. Hundreds of things are happening simultaneously. You run ad campaigns, competitors change prices, newspapers publish stories, people talk over coffees and cocktails across hundreds of cities, but all you really see is that ticketing was up 4% between Philly and San Fran last month. The new data is everything other than the transactions. For example, I might visit your websites and apps a dozen times while planning my family vacation from various devices. I might ask my friends questions on Facebook, I might buy travel books on Kindle. This generates a huge amount of data, hundreds of times bigger than the ticketing transaction, that shows every page and every button and every menu that I clicked on, every fare that I checked, and every destination that I looked at before finally buying a ticket. Beyond the customer side clickstream trail of breadcrumbs, the new big data for airlines includes much more, including all the devices that are now connected to the network. From airplane performance to cargo flow to baggage flow to conveyor belts to food and fuel to a huge variety of ground support trucks and systems, volumes of new data is flowing in, giving us the pulse of the business far beyond the transaction's passenger name record. For the first time, we are capturing that data, networking together, and have a vision to see what's going on. The airline can now see what customers do before they buy a ticket. The airline can now see how well that Rolls-Royce Trent 1000 engine is performing, or how the 787 Dreamliner that engine is mounted on is performing. The airline can now see how Jim Jones, the captain of Flight 2702, piloted that airplane today and compare him to other 787 captains. The airline can see how its ground operation is running at the hub and what problems are starting to crop up. The airline can see how its system is tracking across Europe and anticipate how weather might impact operations 4 hours from now. The effect of having real-time vision empowered by big data will be profound as we collect it, learn, build, and evolve our systems in the coming years and decades. This is why big data is crucial to winning or losing. No matter if you fly airplanes, ship product on trucks, sell goods in stores, move oil to refineries. Unfortunately, most operations leaders have farmed out big data decisions to IT instead of rolling up their sleeves and asking all the questions that need to be asked. So let's talk about this new challenge. What are the difficulties in managing big data while looking for real ROI payback? How can you ensure that your company achieves concrete results leveraging big data? First, please realize that all technologists like do-it-yourself projects. Do-it-yourself has a lot of benefits for IT guys. It's fun to play with new technology Legos. Do-it-yourself keeps jobs secure. Tech wizards have pride of ownership of their baby, and it's relatively easy to sell the business on the idea that we are protecting our competitive advantage by doing data ourselves. But the writing is already on the wall. Most information technology is migrating to cloud-based systems because a cloud strategy achieves greater economies of scale and better quality. It is inevitable that the base foundations of IT will become like electricity in the next few years. It is a mistake to view information technology as one monolithic entity. The foundations, hardware, operating systems, networking, are vastly different in nature from your data, some structured in databases and some not structured but saved in files. Today, most data is not harmonized across various applications. You still have disconnected islands of automation, even though most apps are basic cost of doing business, while only a few are truly secret sauce. The next few years is a time that marks a huge inflection point. Every company is digitally transforming, integrating systems, and connecting to customers and suppliers. No factor is more important to the survival than your team's pace of innovation. To achieve better pace, it makes great sense to leverage cloud computing and services as much as possible. Do-it-yourself makes little sense at the keep the operating system lights on in open source and big data level. Big data systems are the systems, more so than any other systems in IT, that should be implemented as a service in the cloud, always on, always humming. Let me explain why. Big data is hundreds, if not thousands of times larger than the data from the transaction systems of the 90s and early 2000s. In the early 2000s, technologists strained for a cost-efficient way to store and process the flood of new data. In came the Silicon Valley geniuses and the idea that big data could be solved with open source collaborations, using lots of clusters of commodity hardware engineered for frequent failures of individual machines. Starting with a Google paper written in 2003, the first Hadoop release came out in 2006. Hadoop is an umbrella term for open clustering systems that scale to store and process big data. The Hadoop ecosystem was quickly adopted by the largest internet firms. By the late 2000s, Yahoo was a hotbed for Hadoop, running 17 clusters comprised of 24,000 machines by 2009, with Google and Facebook not far behind. Just because Silicon Valley jumps all in doesn't mean that Hadoop ecosystem is easy. Silicon Valley's top firms are really IT companies from top to bottom and have many of the world's best computer engineers. Big data on open source is hard and gets progressively harder for a variety of reasons. Each computing cluster is actually do-it-yourself, combining a myriad of components. First, Hadoop is not one project. Rather, the term encompasses hundreds of projects. A few of the more popular components include many modules beyond the base, including things like Apache Pig, Hive, HBase, Phoenix, Spark, Zookeeper, Cloudera Impala, Apache Flume, Scoop, Uzi, Storm, Kafka, just to name a few. Each of these has its own release schedule, with updates almost every week. There is no central authority or quality testing per se. The community herds cats, testing, patching, and contributing in pursuit of performance, new functionality, and stability by component. Many value-added startups are trying to add proprietary value on top of the Hadoop ecosystem. Lots of these firms are required, and then they go out of business as well every week, making it very difficult to assemble a combination of components that stands the test of time for a quarter, let alone a year or two. On the data side, big data, by the very nature of so many devices and sources, is growing at an astounding rate. Not only does the inflow double every few months, the variety of data changes with the wind. As devices evolve, they generate more data with greater detail and velocity. Video feeds, temperature feeds, third-party data like weather are all flowing into your enterprise. That means that a company must continually add new hardware to their existing systems in an attempt just to store it. While some companies might find small clusters with a few hundred terabytes difficult enough, the effort becomes trickier when you're growing exponentially into thousands of terabytes. To this point, we have mostly been talking about capturing and storing the data, but the gold in that data, or any data for that matter, is only found when you analyze it effectively and then use this newfound vision in time to make a positive impact on business operations. The business is demanding much more, and this demand is growing exponentially. The truth is, we are much more adept at storing big data than getting analytical results out of big data. Hadoop, generally speaking, is better at running static queries rather than constantly changing iterative ones. So it often makes sense to use other systems, better fit for advanced analytics to front end and refine this massive data store. Another complication with so many components is overseeing security concerns. Hackers are having a field day, and many do-it-yourself clusters are behind the security release curve, struggling to stay up to date. Few companies want to add more technologists just to keep the IT lights on. The vast majority of a company's IT budget already goes to keeping systems alive and up to date. Every company is competing for the relatively rare Hadoop human resources. They cost top dollar and they live mostly in Silicon Valley. What line of business units need is predictably good performance of queries, the ability to iterate in a self-service fashion, and timely information flow. Deploying your few tech wizards on helping analysis happen instead of keeping the lights on makes extraordinary sense. Here's the bottom line. Unless you work for an IT company whose entire livelihood is IT systems, managing the big data Hadoop world is an ever more difficult task. No system in your IT department is changing quicker or is more unruly. If there is a system whose daily operations should be managed in the cloud, Hadoop is it. I am certain of that. Which brings me to my final question. What are the key differences of what SAP offers in this big data space versus other players such as Hortonworks, Cloudera, Amazon AWS, Google Cloud Platform, and Microsoft Azure? The first two, Hortonworks and Cloudera, are on-premise Hadoop software distributions. Think of them as toolboxes for the do-it-yourself technology engineers. Each have their own set of tools inside the toolbox, helping the do-it-yourself IT professional manage nodes in their own data centers. Public cloud players such as Amazon, Google, and Microsoft Azure offer customers the ability to rent virtual machine instances in order to spin up a big data environment in their shared data centers. While running your big data environment with one of these players may seem simple and straightforward at first glance, the reality is anything but. When you try to manage and leverage ever-growing big data in production at scale, reliability is a constant challenge, and the level of expertise required is typically not found within most companies outside Silicon Valley. SAP, on the other hand, with our big data services offering, gives you fully managed big data operations. We turned to some of the core guys from Yahoo, who ran Hadoop since inception, to create a best-in-class service for the real world, not just Silicon Valley. Completely different than other public cloud vendors, SAP takes responsibility for running, monitoring, and optimizing your jobs to an uptime cloud service level availability of 100%, while keeping up with security patches and elastically scaling flawlessly, no matter how fast your data grows. Perhaps most importantly, SAP has unrivaled expertise in connecting your new big data with traditional core systems that support daily operations. We understand your systems of record, from financials to industry-specific solutions to common systems like HR and procurement, better than any other technology partner. When you use SAP for your big data as a service, we help ensure that your newfound data is enhanced with business context. For example, IoT data about an asset is far more valuable when you know the entire history of that asset. SAP can also add in the revolutionary capabilities of HANA. Please watch my HANA executive brief video if you've not seen it yet before. Available on my SAP2020.com website. HANA offers a broad array of advanced analytics that help refine gold out of your raw big data ore. Microscopes were not revolutionary when they were first invented, as they ultimately became. But they opened up the eyes of doctors to the biology behind health. It took time for illumination, magnification, and human understanding to advance, but eventually we gained incredible life-saving breakthroughs like penicillin. SAP offers a complete portfolio to help you illuminate, magnify, and understand the insights found in your big data, letting companies apply their best big data technologists to making a positive business impact rather than just keeping the hardware and operating systems running. SAP is now helping our customers innovate with less risk, leveraging our proven Leonardo methodology. The Leonardo process helps you build systems of innovation quickly on top of the agile innovation tools found in SAP's one-of-a-kind cloud platform. I also have a whiteboard video that explains cloud platform found on my imacgyver.com website. So what's the next step? Ask your SAP account executive to connect you with your SAP cloud platform specialist, who can bring in all the right folks to help you innovate around big data. As an alternative, you are welcome to contact me using the contact form once again found on imacgyver.com, and I will find the right connections for you. SAP stands ready to power your agile innovation around big data, unlike any other company in the world today.